right, good evening, nerds around the world. Welcome to episode 117 of the Nerds Unite as One podcast. I am Paul English, your host tonight. And like always, we have a terrific show for you. It is back again, another interrogation episode. And to join in this popular, what has become a very popular theme on the show, we have the usual crew of Colton and Mike. What's going on?
Hey, everyone. Glad to be back for another interrogation.
Yeah, sorry we couldn't do it last week. Things, got in the way. Our schedules didn't line up. Mike had Geek Salad. Colton had work to do. So, it happened. But we are back, and we are once again here to interrogate each other. This time, it is time to interrogate each other on our favorite television episodes. You know how it works. We know how it works. Let's not waste any time. We're going to jump right in. Colton, kick us off. What is your favorite TV show?
My favorite TV show is Spider-Man. Never mind. Spider-Man, the animated series from the 90s.
Okay. Because I say there have been a lot of Spider-Man ones, so you better make sure you know what you're talking about. Mike, I think we can all guess what your favorite is by the shirt you're wearing, but why don't you just
I don't know. What do you think? It might be Mystery Science Theater 3000. And it is Mystery Science Theater 3000.
I thought it was Riff Tracks.
Well, that's an offshoot, but the original TV show was, and still is, Mystery Science Theater 3000.
I'm thinking it might be I thought it might be the 67 Spider-Man series. I'd have thought of that in my head.
Well, that is the Spider-Man. Spider-Man does whatever Spider can.
Spins a web any size, catches the... Oh, wait, no, copyright. Never mind.
Well, if you all happen to have seen the episode where we show off our collections, you will know that this show, the fact that I own the whole saga, just happens to be the crown jewel of my collection. There's a reason why, but you should know what it is.
Dragon Ball GT?
I was going to say Batman, Batman 67.
It's Dragon Ball Z.
Well, you do have the entire series of Batman.
Yeah, I do have the entire Batman. I do have... Which one? I have two. I have
Batman 66.
Oh, yes, I do have that one. Yes. But it's a nice set, but it's not the crown jewel of my collection. It's the whole Dragon Ball saga, all 16 seasons. And I will be getting seasons of Dragon Ball Super when they come out. I know volumes are out. Fuck volumes. I never get them.
Yep.
Okay. So, Colton, I know you're pissed off, but, you deserve it. But, turn that frown upside down, young man. It is time for you to step on the grill.
Let a smile be your umbrella.
And your shield.
I'm ready. Let's do this.
All right. Mike, what is your first question?
Okay. Out of all of the villains that Spider-Man fought in that one, which one's your favorite? And because of how it's portrayed in this series, not necessarily how it was in the comics.
I'd say my favorite... It comes down to two villains in particular, the Green Goblin and Venom. And I think my favorite is actually the Green Goblin. Venom came close, but he has his, redemption bit, and he also was more of a troll to Spider-Man, so to speak. Rather than, he was a legitimate threat, but he was also like a troll at the same time. But whereas, Green Goblin, he was not only set out to, ruin Peter's life, but, anyone that Peter cared about. And what was good about, what I liked about him was that he was, it goes back to the comics, he was an offshoot of Norman's personality and what Norman wanted to do because of the goblin gas that infected his mind and everything. And I really liked how when we first met him, actually, in the comics, the Green Goblin comes first, but in the show, the Hobgoblin is done first, and he was made by Norman in a way to get rid of Wilson Fisk the Kingpin. So by the time season 3 comes around and Norman dons the Green Goblin costume himself, it feels like, a very satisfying next step in Norman's evolution. And the way the Green Goblin strikes, it's like, well, first off, his voice, even though it sounds silly at times, you also know it also kind of sends chills up my spine at the same time, especially when he returns to Norman. He's like, "Let me out, Norman! Let me out now!" And Norman's like, "No, no!" Oh man, someone's watching.
That was so creepy how well you did that.
Thank you.
That was very freaky.
But also, what I liked about the Green Goblin is that when you think about it, a lot of the villains past their debut episodes kind of had sort of faltered a bit in their motives, so to speak. Like some of them just kind of showed up to be the villains of the episode, but whenever the Green Goblin showed up, you know shit was about to go down, and it really showed in probably my favorite episode of the series, Turning Point, which is the adaptation of the show's version of the night Gwen Stacy died. Everything about it in the Green Goblin, the way he just torments Peter, finds out who he is, attacks him in the middle, manages to hold on, I'm making my thoughts straight. Okay, how he figures out who Peter is, then attacks him in the middle, right outside of his own home, right outside of Norman's own home, and all that jazz, and then drags Peter through the air down over to the bridge, to the iconic bridge, tries to drown him and everything, and then it leads up to them like having their final confrontation at the bridge after he's kidnapped Mary Jane Watson, and then afterwards, there's the final bit where he's supposed to die, but of course censors, so whatever. But as it looks like Peter's about to maybe rescue Norman. Norman's like, "There's no Osborn anymore, Parker. There is only the Green Goblin," and you really do feel like just the Goblin is taken over completely. It's just a damn sort of thing. But even past that, even after he's been banished into the interdimensional limbo or wherever that dimension was like, he can still ruin Peter's life by he was able to contact Harry somehow, some way. I don't know how. That's just how awesome he is. And they also had a pretty good, interesting dynamic. So yeah, I'd say my favorite of all the villains was the Green Goblin.
Don't forget how he actually made MJ disappear into that same dimensional rift.
Yeah, that too. And we never saw her again. Well,
Probably.
The real MJ.
Yeah, let's not talk about that. We don't want to spoil too much for people who haven't seen it. Seriously, Marvel, Disney, get that show at least on Blu-ray now. All right. Well, speaking of MJ, that is my question. First question to you. There have been a lot of incarnations of Mary Jane Watson, obviously. There's the 90s one. There's Kirsten Dunst. There's the 2008 one from Spectacular Spider-Man, which happens to be my favorite. Then you have the version from Ultimate Spider-Man. How do you like this version of MJ, the one from the 90s show? How would you rank her in comparison to like other versions we've seen her? And how you feel about it personally?
Well, is that Spider-Man on Blu-ray, Mike?
It's a bootleg. It's not a legit thing.
It's a very well done bootleg, but it is a bootleg nonetheless. But this whole thing, it's all the episodes.
Well, the MJs that I've seen are 90s MJ, Kirsten Dunst, Spider-Man Unlimited, and the Spectacular Spider-Man. I never really got around to Ultimate Spider-Man because I just had issues with how Spectacular got canceled, and then this show came around. I think I watched maybe one episode but wasn't really interested. Oh yeah, and I saw the MJ from Spider-Man, the new animated series, the one where I think Peter was voiced by Neil Patrick Harris in that one.
I couldn't even watch one episode of that. But yes, you're right.
Well, anyway,
yeah,
we got and Mike has a copy of that as well.
Yeah,
well, anyway,
this is the official DVD release.
Yeah, the DVD, and of course, like all Spider-Man shows, it got canceled before its time. It got canceled on a cliffhanger. Seriously, that's like a curse or something for. Oh wait, I'm getting ahead of myself. All right, MJ. All right, of all the MJs I've seen, I would actually have to agree with you, Paul, that I think that MJ from Spectacular, at least what I've seen of her, might be my favorite, but I really love the 90s MJ as well. Because first of all, we've only gotten to see two versions of the jackpot scene, which was in this version and in the Spectacular Spider-Man. And MJ's basis, how you just said the jackpot was just totally iconic in the 90s version. It's like they talk about MJ like, it's basically like in the comics where we don't know what MJ looks like. Peter's thinking of, great, she's going to be some, I don't know, blind date or whatever. And then May's like, hey, that's MJ right now. Why don't you go answer the door for her? And why don't you go answer the door answer the door, Peter? And Peter's like, don't I get a last meal? And he opens the door and he's like,
face it, Tiger, you just hit the jackpot.
Yep. And then Peter just has that dreamy smile on his face. I'm like, yep, Peter, I'm right there with you. That's probably the most attractive version of MJ, I think, of all the iterations I've seen. But what I love about her is that while she's, clearly there to be, she's, obviously Miss Fan Service, she also largely doesn't take Peter's shit from time to time, Like, there was the whole bit where he seemed, he was very distracted during the neogenic nightmare sequence. He was blowing her off, and then there was kind of a bit of a misunderstanding going on with him and Felicia. And, rather than, just immediately dumping him, MJ just goes to Peter and just asks, for an explanation. She says, okay, just tell me right now, is it me or Felicia, all right? And once he turns her down, once he has to, do the whole stupid lying to protect her thing, she's like, all right, fine. Then she, blows him off, goes to Harry and all that jazz. But you can't really blame her for that, among other things. And but beyond that, though, I also like how her fiery redhead personality, like, we don't get to see it too often, but whenever she got into a few fights, she always proved she could handle herself. Like when Hydro Man attacked her, she crushes him underneath a pile of newspapers, grabs some sort of hook and throws it at him, in which, it doesn't destroy him, but it, temporarily dissolves him. Then she throws, I think, like fire sand or something at him, which, almost causes him to fall into a furnace. I'm like, damn, MJ, it's like, if only you were this badass in the live action movies, that would have been great. But I also like that she had pretty good
Marvel that can do it.
What?
Give it time, Marvel. I'm sure Marvel will come up with something.
I hope so. But I also liked how she can be pretty funny from time to time, and she also was she had pretty good chemistry with Peter as well throughout the series. So it was like during the whole bit where she disappeared in that dimensional rift, you really did want to see Peter, rescue her and all that jazz. And and of course her voice. It was the perfect, girls next door kind of voice, not too sultry, but just the kind of voice that would, any guy would just kind of fawn over, among other things.
I kind of have to disagree with you on that one. I thought she did have a great voice in the 90s show, but I thought it leaned a little too much on the Spitfire edge. I thought the voice of her in Spectacular Spider-Man was the perfect girl next door voice. But 90s one's a close second. It's not separated by too much.
Yeah. Like I said, if I had to give the Spectacular version something, is that she had, if I had to give if there was anything I liked about the Spectacular version more, is that, there was less drama going on in her life, so to speak. She was just, the kind of person that everyone would want to be friends with. She was of course, since she was, more Peter's friend than his girl, since she was Peter's friend as opposed to his girlfriend, that allowed their dynamic. That allowed for a more interesting dynamic for them and whatnot, which is kind of what they were like that's what they were like in the comics originally, actually, which most mainstream people probably won't know about, since, all versions tend to go in the MJ's first, nothing else, so to speak, with the exception of the Amazing Spider-Man films, but that's another story.
Let's not talk about those. Let's talk about those as little as we can, please.
All right, but have I answered your question?
Yes, you did.
All right.
Yeah. Mike?
Well, going off of the Mary Jane Watson connection, what do you think about their decision to not include Gwen Stacy in the series? She showed up in like the last episode, but that was
another dimension.
Yeah, they deliberately left her out because apparently, like, they didn't want to include her because they knew that she would possibly have to die later. I don't buy it personally, but
it's weird. It's hard for me to say because the Spider-Man the Animated Series was the first Spider-Man show. Was the first time I was ever introduced to Spider-Man, so I really didn't know about the his topic, his history, about the other cast of characters he had and everything. And so I basically knowing now that Gwen was first, and they didn't want to include her because they figured, hey, if Gwen's there, she's gonna have something bad will happen to her. I think it's kind of silly to not include her for those reasons, because they did it with they did a bunch of other iconic scenes with certain bad guys and watering them down. They had to, like I said, they still adapted the night Gwen Stacy died, even if they didn't kill him with using Mary Jane as a replacement. Even though they didn't kill her, they still did the same bit with him. The Green Goblin now he gets hit by his own gliders. I'm saying you can't say you don't. I mean, I just find it silly how they're like, we don't want to kill Gwen, but I'm like, you don't want to kill anyone anyway. So why don't you just go ahead, do this, and then rather than going this especially similar substitute routes. And in hindsight, they managed to make it work. It didn't really hurt the series that Gwen wasn't around. But it is kind of silly in hindsight when you realize that their reason for doing so was because they were just afraid because they didn't want to do anything bad to her. I don't know where to go with this. It's just weird. It's a weird decision. Okay, especially I mean, granted, people did die in this show, but not too often, I guess.
No, that's fair. That's fair.
But by the same token, Gwen doesn't have to always get killed off. You're in adaptation, you're in adaptation. Okay, you're allowed to do different things. Okay.
Exactly. She didn't die in Spider-Man 3, did she?
Nope. Of course, we don't want to talk about that movie either.
Nope. At least not the second half. You want to talk about the first half? That's fine. I'll talk about the first half.
Let's not talk. Well, okay, we all know what happened in the Amazing Spider-Man 2, but that's another story.
Oh, yeah, that one I don't want to talk about at all.
I don't blame you. All right. Oh, shoot, I did have a. Oh yeah. So obviously, the show came out in 1994, and we're just starting to utilize some more and a lot of these early Marvel shows were utilizing some bits of 3D animation, or 3D animation was starting to become a little more common. I know it was not used very much, and when it was used in this show, it was used sparingly, almost like they use it in shots of the city where you see Spider-Man kind of swinging through the city. You see some 3D elements too there. I can understand why it would be a little off-putting to some fans, considering that it's a 2D show, but there's some 3D that doesn't really add up. Obviously, we've seen it work, that Iron Man sequence, transformation sequence in Iron Man, but were you ever off-put by the use of 3D animation in this show?
No, not really. Again, it goes back to again, once again, I was a kid when I was watching this, so given how I watched the show religiously, it just kind of grew I didn't really know any better, I guess you could say, regarding, just the 3D just not having any real purpose to be there, but by the time I got old enough, it really didn't faze me anymore, and now it just feels like part of the show's charm. And like you said, they only use it sparingly, usually for POV shots whenever Peter was flying through, or swinging through the city and all that jazz. They didn't abuse CGI. And so other times where we saw sort of CG images, shots of when we saw DNA strands and stuff like that, neogenics, it fit pretty well. I thought not perfect, but I've seen way worse uses of CGI, I guess you could say, where they used it all the time. I think Digimon can get pretty abusive of CGI from time to time and whatnot. So yeah, there's that. Whereas with Spider-Man, they used it only when appropriate, I think. And so good use of the technology, I'd say.
Okay, Mike.
Yeah, I have one more question. Was there any character that you didn't like the way that they were portrayed in the series?
May freaking Parker. I know she means well, but every time she just talked about how, oh my gosh, that terrible Spider-Man. It wasn't that terrible Spider-Man that got you. Not the saying Spider-Man has turned into a monster. Shut up, May! I mean, I know you mean well. I know that you were probably, I think you were kind of like that at some point in the comic book, but for crying out loud, could they just let May stop with this already? She was it felt like that was the only, it really bugged me how she was just kind of given the, not asshole makeover, but she was kind of a jerk. She was pretty much a jerk whenever Spider-Man was concerned, and it got to the point where, where Peter snaps at her and says, I'm not going to listen to any more of this. Sure, that was because of the symbiote influencing his decisions, but I was like, I'm right there with you, Peter. I'm sick of hearing May bitching about Spider-Man, all right? I know she's a sweet old lady, but everyone has their limits, okay?
Yeah, I agree. For me, it was her and Madam Web. I couldn't stand Madam Web.
Yeah. Well, Madam Web, she was annoying from time to time, but I felt like she proved herself in the end during the final arc and whatnot. But I will say that, Peter snapping at her saying, "I've had it with you and your supreme arrogance. Don't ever cross me again. Do you hear me? Do you hear me?" Christopher Daniel Barnes, he was very good at, selling how pissed off Peter could get from time to time,
Mm. Well, I mean, look, you got to give Madam Wim this. She was voiced by Stan Lee's wife.
Yep.
You can't fault her for that.
No, we can.
I didn't say I hated her voice. I just hated her. She just bugged me. No pun intended.
I do have one more question, and it's on the topics of voices. We see a lot of people debating, especially when it comes to Batman, who is the best Batman. We often hear Michael Keaton, Christian Bale. I'm sure a lot of people are saying Ben Affleck. But usually a lot of people stand up and applaud when someone says, no, Kevin Conroy is the definitive Batman.
But hold on, Paul, I'm Batman.
No, I'm Batman.
No, I am vengeance. I am the knight. I am Batman.
Why'd you say that name?
Where's the trigger? Where is the...
Sorry.
Both of you shut up and listen. Anyway, I know a lot of people rage and debate about who the best Spider-Man is. We're hearing Tobey Maguire. I say Tobey Maguire, a lot of people do. Many people say Andrew Garfield. I'm sure a lot of people are going to be saying Tom Holland, especially after Homecoming. However, I think an argument can be made that the definitive Spider-Man is actually Christopher Daniel Barnes. So, Colton, if you can, please defend that argument. Why should Christopher Daniel Barnes be considered the definitive Spider-Man?
All right. Well, first of all, actually, I want to just quickly say it comes down to Christopher Daniel Barnes and Josh Keaton from the Spectacular Spider-Man. Mm-hmm. But I think I'm giving there's bias on my part because I saw Christopher Daniel Barnes first, but I think he kind of nails it a bit more. Like Peter's wit and everything, he gets a bit more drama to deal with and what have you. So I think he really does have some of Spider-Man's best comedic lines. Like when he's fighting Tombstone, Tombstone's like, "Come down here, and fight like a man," and Peter's like, "I don't suppose I can convince you to come up here and fight like a spider." And then there's one instance where he's fighting like 5 criminals or something. They're like, "There's 5 against 1." He's like, as far as I'm concerned, that means you're outnumbered." So yeah, Christopher Daniel Barnes, I think what I like about him is, well, first off, one thing I love about Christopher Daniel Barnes is that I was watching this interview of him and a panel with him and most of the actors from Spider-Man the Animated Series, and he was talking about what it meant to be Spider-Man and how he was, the current voice and avatar of the character, the one that brought the character to life for, the current generation and everything that made me admire him even more. And what I like about his take on the character is that I feel like given how he had, I think, the longest tenure as Spider-Man, he got, how is Ultimate Spider-Man still going on?
Ultimate Spider-Man?
Yeah, how many seasons?
No, that ended after season 4. There's a new Spider-Man cartoon now.
Another one?
Yeah, it just started recently. I haven't seen it yet, but not too fond of the animation, though.
Okay, then, like I said, at 5 seasons, Christopher Daniel Barnes has the longest tenure of all the animated Spider-Man, I think, and what I like about that, and because of that, I feel like he got to, go through the full range of what Spider-Man is, Spider-Man, he's Spider-Man the jokester, he's Spider-Man the tragic hero, he's Spider-Man the person that people look up to. It's just, he really got a chance to just show the full range for our hero and what have you. And what I love, probably one of my favorite bits of voice acting from him is when he's confronted with, we're in the final season, he's being confronted by Dr. Doom, and he was like, well, I won't go too deep into it, but let's just say Doom has absorbed a lot of cosmic energies, but he can't control them. And Peter says, you have to give up you have to give up these powers, okay? And Dr. Doom says, why should I? Which among you would want to give up your superpowers? And Peter says, I have, because I've learned time and time again that with great power must also come great responsibility. And that's a responsibility even you can't ignore. And I'm like, yep, that's him. That's our Spider-Man, people. Just the guy that no matter what happens, he's always the person that you're gonna want to look up to, and someone that can just come and save the day. And even when he's playing other versions of the character, he can do a very solid job also. Like when he got infected by the symbiote, and he slowly loses his mind over the course of his tenure in the costume, but you can really just feel how frustrated and angry Peter is with not getting what he wants, especially when he confronts Rhino and he says, funny thing, I'm through not getting what I want, not getting what I deserve, and I'm through being a friendly neighborhood spider. And I'm like, well, okay, that's really creepy to say the least, Peter. You might want to eat your Snickers.
Shocker.
Oh, yeah. Shocker! You can't escape me. I'll chase you to the ends of the earth.
That is rage, people.
Yeah, a little silly, but Christopher Daniel Barnes still managed to pull it off. And he also did a great job playing Spider Carnage. Again, minor kind of spoilers there, but he did a good job playing, Psycho and Crazy as well in that two-parter or three-parter, two-parter and whatnot. Then of course I won't go too far into the other voices he did, but like I said, he's just really the one that makes you really believe in Spider-Man the most, I'd say. Mainly because he didn't have any real any embarrassments on his record, I guess you could say. Well, okay, depends on how you ask. But I like Tobey, but at times they could play up Tobey how miserable his Spider-Man was a little too much. Andrew Garfield has his issues where he's more a better Spider-Man than he is a better Peter Parker. And while Holland is sort of a good mixture of the two, I feel like we've only seen him in 2 movies so far. So
1.5, really.
Oh yeah, he's only been actually more like 1.25.
Yeah,
or
probably.
1 in 10.
He still had more lines in Civil War than Superman had in BVS.
That's sad, huh?
Yeah.
Anyway, going back to what I was talking about, I feel like Christopher Daniel Barnes currently still is my favorite take on the character.
You can't really argue with it. I mean, I agree. I mean, kind of toss up between Barnes and Josh Keaton. You can kind of go anywhere, but I think one of the episodes that sealed Christopher Barnes for me was the episode where I don't know if you actually did, but he was threatening to actually quit Spider-Man, and then he gets this fan letter from this little girl who we learn later is in a terminal hospital.
Right.
And how she inspires him to take the man. I thought that was kind of that might be my favorite episode of any Spider-Man show, to be honest.
I love that one also. I also loved how that, even though it's the 3rd season, it's the first episode where we actually get where we fully get Spider-Man's origin story and everything like that. It goes to show you that, just because the show starts off, you don't have to show us the origin immediately. You can hold it off for as long as necessary if you need to. I mean, granted, we actually got bits of it in the 5th episode and again in the 2nd season, but that was the first episode where we got the story in full. And I also loved Peter's interactions with this fangirl, how she wants him, and how he's like, how he told her, what happened with his life, and how Uncle Ben died and everything. How she told him she didn't want him to give up. But she's like, just because you messed up doesn't mean you should quit. We'll just try harder next time. And that's why I really love it when we see characters interacting. When we see the fans of the heroes interacting with them, showing how they inspire them. That's what superheroes are all about.
Especially those one-on-one interactions.
Indeed. Though speaking of voices, I want to add one thing. Well, I just want to quickly add one thing. So I know a lot of people say that J.K. Simmons is perfectly cast as J. Jonah Jameson, but I have to say that I actually like Edward Asner's take on Jameson a lot more in Spider-Man the Animated Series for one reason mainly, and that's because I think that Spider-Man the Animated Series, I feel like Edward Asner's version gets what Jameson is a lot more than J.K. Simmons. Because with J.K. Simmons, I feel like he's been kind of given the asshole makeover, so to speak, and to borrow a phrase from another YouTuber, where with Edward Asner, Jameson's a jerk, but he's not an ass. Where we see he has journalistic integrity by the bucket loads, whereas with J.K. Simmons' Jameson, we see him as a jerk more time. With a few exceptions, he is basically a jerk throughout the entire series, the kind of person that we want to see getting his comeuppance and all that jazz, which is funny, but that's not really what Jameson is like, so to speak. like we saw when he, had to print that retraction in Spider-Man 3, he was doing it begrudgingly rather than, well, okay, granted, Edward Asner had to do a few begrudging, retractions also, but we still got to see the good man he was on a regular basis, so to speak. Then again, that's also, the advantage of being a TV show over a movie. You can do a lot more, but yeah, I just wanted to add that real quick.
Okay. And Jennifer Hale was fantastic as Felicia Hardy.
Indeed. I really loved her arc throughout the show, actually, how she starts off, spoiled rich girl, then she has that bit with Michael Morbius, which I wasn't a fan of, but I liked how Peter still came to her rescue despite her publicly slandering him as, being a monster, and how she hated him with all her heart and soul. And then comes season 3, once he's, saved her life once again, she realizes that she realizes the good man he is and has actually fallen in love with him. And then, season 4, she becomes Black Cat, and I'm like, it was a great, interesting character arc. And that was what I loved about the show, is that it wasn't like other animated series where they had a sort of a status quo as God, except when it's not sort of formula. With Spider-Man, when story arcs would start, they would keep going rather than just being brought up when it's convenient, so to speak. I guess you could say something like that. But I'm taking up too much time, so let's move on.
All right, you have survived, Colton. You have survived. And now, as your reward for surviving, you get to lead off the next interrogation. So, Mike, are you prepared?
No.
Too bad.
Well, too bad. Colton, the floor is yours.
All right, then, Mike. I'm going to ask you a simple question right now. As we all know, Mystery Science Theater had more than one host. So my question is, which one did you find to be the best?
You got to start this off with a Mike versus Joel flame war.
Yep.
What the hell, man? No, actually, no, this is Mike, Joel, and Jonah. I like them all. For me, I'm always going to default to Mike, mainly because literally, the first episode of Mystery Science Theater that I ever saw was Joel's last episode and Mike's first. So, by default, I got into the show when Mike was coming in. So I kind of started with Mike and I kind of grew with him. I mean, I went back and watched all the Joel episodes, and I've seen all the Jonah episodes too, but I mean, just personal preference, I'm going to default to Mike. I also, he had a much more musical flair. His version of the Gamera song is just fantastically funny. So yeah, I love them all. I will watch any of them anytime, but if I'm forced to choose between one of the three, I'm going Mike.
All right, cool.
All right, so my first question is this. I've never watched the show myself, but my dad loved it. My dad loves the show. He used to watch it all the time. So I kind of have an understanding of the premise of the show. My question to you is, what was it about the show that made it so appealing? Was it the old movies they would watch, or was it the jokes they would make? What exactly about the show was so appealing? Did you find so appealing?
It was definitely a combination of the both. Seeing what kind of god awful movies they can pull out of the bins. I don't know where they found a lot of these movies. The most famous movie, Mono Stands Fate, was literally made, I think, in one weekend by a Texas fertilizer salesman. And literally, he forgot he had made it about 2 years later. Someone asked him about it. It was like, "Oh, I made that, didn't I?" That's a true story. Just seeing the kind of schlock that actually gets made, and you realize, you know what? Some of the crap that comes out of Hollywood is no better than this, but a movie like Deep Blue Sea or Resident Evil, it's freaking genius compared to some of this crap. But then they have perfected the formula of the jokes down to a science. It is spot on. I mean, if you're watching it through, it's like each episode is an hour and a half at least. So if you're watching along, they makes I think someone's counted as they at their heyday, like they were doing about like 800 jokes a show. Yeah,
Really?
yeah. And for like for a show that's 100 like what 90 minutes long, you can guess of how many jokes a minute that is. So if you're watching this along, you hear a joke, you're like, I don't quite get this, or that's not quite funny. Just wait a couple of minutes. You will hear at least 3 other jokes, and at least one of them is going to have you clutching your sides laughing. So, and the fact that they're making fun of these really cheesy jokes, cheesy movies with like cardboard sets and whatever, and then when they pull back and like show just like their set that they're filming on, it's got like if you watch during like the Mike days or the Joel days, you can see like the Millennium Falcon stuck on the wall somewhere. They use like Tinker toys. They use anything they could find. They just painted it white and stuck it to the wall. So their set, their budget was no higher than a lot of these movies, but they're embracing the cheesy like notion of it all, whereas the movies most of the time they're trying to be so serious and like, dude, you made this for $15. You can't be that serious with it. Come on, stop it. So yeah, that's I mean for me, yeah, what I love most about it is just it's a combination of the cheese factor of the show itself, the jokes that they throw at the show with such wanton abandon, and just the terrible movies. Yeah, a lot of these movies you're just watching like, this is a train wreck. I just can't look away. There are literally movies where you can see someone's hand in the reflection of a car window. It's like that's you shouldn't be able to see that. That's like the director moving a piece of the set. Oh, and there's this one movie, 12 to the Moon. When they're walking down onto the set and they show like the set of them on the moon, you can see the tops of the setting and the lights that are illuminating the set in the shot. And they're like, yeah, we're not going to film that again. Just keep going.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Can't say I've ever watched the show, but I have seen clips of it. And there was this one joke I saw that actually had me laughing. It was I don't know what movie they were watching. Someone was using it as in a clip for their review, but the clip they used featured someone falling in front of a green screen, and their joke was, "Help! I'm falling at a 90-degree angle, breaking all the laws of physics."
That was the Puma Man. Oh, believe me, I know all of the episodes. You can actually, they've actually on their YouTube channel, they have put entire episodes, and actually a lot of them they put them with the like notes on it. So like if you were like watching it and you like they say a joke, you have no idea what they're talking about, they'll have the little caption below explaining the joke. I believe the Puma Man is on there. It was like late 70s, early 80s, and it was like a British show that they were trying to make into a superhero it wasn't happening.
All right, I'll give that a watch if I can find it.
I think I think a lot of the episodes are on Netflix. I don't know if the whole original series is, but I know the episodes are on Netflix.
Yeah, you can find them on Netflix. You can find them on YouTube. Actually, the new season is on Netflix, so that's fun.
My second question is this: did they only watch and make fun of like old science fiction movies, or did they just find, or could it be like any genre that they find and make fun of?
Oh, is any genre. I mostly they went with science fiction, especially when because like the first 7 seasons they did on the Comedy Central. Actually, they went back so far as their first season was on Comedy Central when it was called the Comedy Channel, and then eventually they changed it to the Comedy Central in the second season, and they stuck with it. 7th season was the last one on Comedy Central, and then the 8th season they started on Sci-Fi Channel. Sci-Fi Channel, they were a little bit more strict. They said, "Nah, you can only do science fiction movies." They actually did get away with a couple of non-sci-fi back there, but no, I mean, they've done all kinds of genre. They've done It did a lot of like teen exploitation movies. They they did a lot of like the old schlocky like 50s horror movies. One of their early episodes was called Catalina Caper, and that was a teen dance slash comedy slash crime caper thing. It had Little Richard in it. It starred Tommy. Damn it, the guy that was in like all the Disney movies. Oh damn it, Tommy. Damn, I'm looking this up. This is just bugging me now.
Give me a couple movies. You said he was doing a lot of Disney. What movies do you know he did off the top of your head?
It's Swiss Family Robinson. I know that for a fact. In 1960s, Disney. It was Tommy Kirk. Yeah, Tommy Kirk was in that one. Actually, I believe Tommy Kirk also showed up in a movie that they did in the 5th or 6th season called Village of the Giants that also starred Jeff Bridges.
A very young Jeff Bridges.
A very young Jeff Bridges. I think it also starred a very young Bo Bridges as well. Oh yeah, it also starred a very, very young Ron Howard, as in director of Han Solo movie, Ron Howard. This was back in his
like before Andy Griffith's show, Ron Howard.
This is around like they're saying he was about that age. Yeah. Okay, so it wasn't Jeff Bridges. It was just Bo Bridges that was in it. Okay. But yeah, it was Tommy Kirk, Bo Bridges, and Ron Howard all in that movie. That's a movie that I bet Ron Howard is not putting on his resume.
Yeah.
But yeah, they've done, I mean, like I said, they did mostly sci-fi, schlocky sci-fi movies, but they've done, if you look, they've done a lot of different genres because bad movies are not devoted to just one.
That's very true. Colton, anything else?
Yeah. Okay, so most of the time you're just watching people watching movies, but there are other times where, sketches or skits happened. And were those funny, or was it just, kind of a distraction from just watching the shows, watching the guys riff on the movies?
Well, I mean, yeah, they serve dual purpose. One, it was a welcome break from, because, I mean, if you watch those movies, some of those movies are just so bad, you're just watching them, and the more you watch it, the more you're like, even with the jokes, so like, okay, that joke is funny. I can't laugh because this movie is just so bad. So a break every half hour or so is very vital. But no, those are funny. Those are some of the times. Those are even funnier than the movies. They had actually. Do I have them here? No, I have them here. They actually released CDs of all the songs that they did during those sketches, and they're not there. I have both of them, but they did songs, they did sketches, they did kind of like general like funny things. At the end of this movie called The Giant Gila Monster, as they're like kind of closing it out, they show just clips from the movie of all the times people were putting their knee up on things, and just like standing up and just, well, it looks like we need to do this. This happened over and over. I mean, it must have happened at least 20 times throughout the course of the movie. Just people putting their knee up on stuff. In fact, even while they're watching it, it's like, well, I think he should be putting his knee up right about. Yep, there he goes. And yeah, I mean, at the end of a movie called Attack of the Eye Creatures, it's literally Attack of the Eye Creatures. I don't know how that got through, but well, actually, I kind of do. But they showed a portion. They showed just screenshots from the movie of all the times where the director just didn't care. Like they showed like shots of like the monsters, but they couldn't afford full suits for all the monsters. So in a lot of shots where they're walking through the woods, you'd have a couple of fully suited monsters, and you'd have a couple of guys with just the headpiece and then black lycra. They were just walking through the woods like that, and so they would show that clip, and they would cut back to them as like they just didn't care. So, yeah, I mean those host segments are very, very funny, but also a welcome relief from the pain of the movies sometimes.
And it sounds like these guys are making Ed Wood sound like a genius right now. Those bad movies.
Actually, they did do a couple of Ed Wood movies.
Did they do Plan 9 from Outer Space?
They never did Plan 9 from Outer Space. Well, Roof Tracks did, which was like the spin-off from one of the spin-offs from. But they did a couple of. They did one Ed Wood movie called
Bride of the Monster.
They did Bride of the Monster. Yeah, they did Bride of the Monster. They also did one like a teen crime movie about these girls that they're so rich, but they get their kicks by causing crimes and doing vandalism and all that. And like, yeah, Ed Wood, you're a good director. No one tell you otherwise. But I mean, yeah, I mean the movies are not good, but they're fun watches. It's nothing, you know. It was Ed Wood doing what Ed Wood does best. He actually did a woman wrestling movie too. That one was weird.
All right. So here's my last question, and it's a pretty simple one. Are you enjoying the new MST3000 show?
Very much so. Very much so. In fact, it kind of ended on a quasi cliffhanger, so I'm hoping that they get picked up for a second season. But yeah, Felicia Day plays the mad scientist that kidnaps Jonah and sends her up to the satellite of love. That's where they see the movies, and all that. And her henchman was played by Patton Oswalt.
Yeah, it sounds like my kind of show right now.
yeah, and yeah, they just played it. Actually, probably my favorite one was the very first episode of the season. They made fun of the movie Reptilicus, which is a blatant ripoff of Godzilla, about like a giant lizard that comes back to like he regenerates from this piece of tissue that they find, and he can spit acid. Whatever, it was made like the 50s or 60s or whatever. But actually, speaking of host segments, the first host segment in that, they do this song that there's actually after he saw it, Lin-Manuel Miranda tweeted out that this was one of the funniest songs he'd ever seen. It was called "Every Country Has a Monster." They just go down a list of all these countries, and they list like a special, like a giant monster or kaiju that was created was made by that movie, by that country, and it's great. You know, you can actually find that on YouTube, but watch the entire episode. It's hilarious.
Okay, cool.
That was my last question. So Colton, do you have anything else?
Yeah, one more. So they had a movie, didn't they? Mystery Science Theater 3000, right?
Yep.
Of course, you have a copy of it.
Of course.
Naturally.
Well, so what did you think of it? Was it good, or was it showing that they should just stick to being on a TV format?
Oh no! It's hilarious. In fact, it's probably a lot funnier than a lot of the episodes, mainly because it's a lot shorter than a lot of the episodes. In fact, the entire movie, host segments and all, is about 70 minutes long.
And they released this theatrically?
Oh, yeah, I saw it twice. Once I had to drive all the way down to Boston, and once I think they showed it in Worcester. But, I mean, basically, they riff on the movie This Island Earth, the sci-fi classic. And the movie itself is considerably longer than that, so they cut out quite a bit from the movie. But I mean, the stuff that they used, it's genius. I mean, Russell, I think the guy who played the professor in Gilligan's Island. He's in the movie for like the first half hour, and before they kill him off, and when first time you see him, he walks in, and they go, "What's with this and the rest crap?" Because like the first season of Gilligan's Island, and rather than saying the professor and Mary Ann, they just said "and the rest."
Well, that's where that joke came from.
Oh boy.
Yeah,
Cool.
and you know the main characters are obviously aliens, but they go out of the way in the first half of the hour of the movie to try and prove that they're not aliens. So like they're having dinner with all of these humans, and they're like, and they're saying, first we'll have dinner and then we'll go down to the lab and do all these things. And I think it was Tom that goes, "Then I'll shove my ovipositor down your chest, down your throat, and lay my eggs in your chest. But I'm not an alien." So yeah, the movie is exceptionally funny. In fact, if you want a good starting off place, that's actually a really good way to go because it is a short movie. It doesn't take up a lot of time. It is exceptionally funny. It explains the premise of the show pretty well right in the beginning. And yeah, it's a great way to start.
All right, thanks.
No problem.
All right, Mike, you have survived the interrogation chair. Well done.
And now it's your turn, Paul.
Yes, I am. I am prepared. I have my shield. I am ready. All right, guys, bring it on. Here we go.
All right, then.
Colton, you're up.
Okay, Dragon Ball Z. All right, okay. So, my first question for you is, what do you think of the show's treatment of Goku, okay? I mean, like, in the first, in Dragon Ball, he was, the main hero and everything, but in Dragon Ball Z, they kind of turn him into, at least for the first half, he's turned into a walking Deus Ex Machina or something like that. What do you think of all that?
I don't really get that reference.
What I mean is that, when the show starts, Goku gets killed off, and then afterwards, Goku kind of takes the position where he's somehow out of commission for a while, and so the other characters show up to fight the big bad. They get their asses kicked. Goku shows up, does some damage, rinse and repeat, all the way up until at least the Frieza saga, so to speak. I'm like, what do you think of that?
I mean, I suppose every show, when you have a show that like runs for long, eventually you're going to come across like a formula. I mean, that was just I look at that. That's just Dragon Ball Z's formula. I mean, Goku fights. He gets put out of commission. The rest of the characters have to hold off the baddie for a little while until Goku shows up. I mean, that was just their formula. That's just pretty much the way I look at it. Plus, when you knew that whenever Goku showed up after, he was always going to have something cool to show off. I mean, he comes back from training with King Kai. Now he's got the KO Ken. You see the Spirit Bomb. He comes back to fight the Ginyu Force. You see just how when you come back to fight the Ginyu Force, you see him just like you can see him standing there with Berta and Jace trying to attack him, and they can't move. He's not moving. You think he's a ghost, but Vegeta, he's actually moving. He's just so fast that no one can see him. It's like whenever he comes back after he comes back from his out of commission, he always comes back with some new tricks. The creme de la creme, of course, being a Super Saiyan transformation against Frieza. That still gives me chills. But, I mean, that was just a formula of the show in its early days. That's really all it was. At least that's the way I look at it.
All right, cool. All right, I'll have a part 2 for that question next time, but Micah.
I'll ask you my question, but first I've got to charge it up for like 5 or 6 hours first, and then I'll hit you with my question. Okay? So give me a second. Okay, now. Favorite character?
Oh my god, I always say Goku because I mean he was the star, and I guess in a way it still is. But as far as like complexity, for a while now that I think about it, at least in the first 6 seasons, I may have to say Gohan because you always look at him. He was like sort of the reluctant hero. Like he doesn't like fighting, but when he's pushed into it, he is a total badass. And you see that in the Cell saga when he reaches that Super Saiyan rage form against Cell. Talk about Goku's Super Saiyan transformation giving you goosebumps. That moment after Cell destroys 16 Head and you hear Gohan unleash that scream and that power unleash, that is a chill-inducing scene. We're like, now we're finally seeing the power that Gohan's teased for so long. Now we're finally seeing it come to life, and it was such a spectacular moment. To that end, it was kind of disappointing how he went downhill in season 7 and beyond. And don't get me started about how useless he's become in Dragon Ball Super. But I mean, for a while, it was Gohan. Although Goku's kind of still my favorite just because he is the big guy.
You do realize that Goku never actually beat Vegeta, right?
No, I know.
No, I think
Vegeta kicks ass.
Did. I mean, Vegeta cheated, okay? He went grade 8 because he knew he couldn't win otherwise.
Hey, in order to beat him, he had to get Goku had to get all of his friends over there to kill off his tail. Because Vegeta's the boss.
Well, Goku was winning at that time, okay? Never mind.
Nah.
It kind of wasn't. I mean, remember, Goku had to unleash like 2 triple Kaiokens back to back, and then he had to push up to a Kaioken 4 in order to knock Vegeta out of commission for a little.
And Vegeta still crippled him.
Yeah.
Ha! Because Vegeta's the boss.
Right.
The boss.
I'll come back to Vegeta in a few questions.
Few questions. How many you got?
Well, we'll see.
All right. Next question, Colton.
Okay, well, you kind of answered my question. I was first going to say, what you think of what they did with Gohan past Z? I was going to ask if you thought it was in character that he, stopped fighting, or did you think it was just kind of a wasted opportunity to make him, have him not live up to be Goku's successor? But you kind of answered that saying you weren't a fan of it, so to speak. And so
well, I mean, I know that I've heard that like Akira Toriyama and the rest of the Toei company, I think, is the one who produces Dragon Ball in Japan. Their intention actually was to keep Goku dead after season 6 and make Gohan the primary hero, but there was such a backlash from fans, like, no, we want Goku back. And they kind of didn't know what to do with Gohan. I'm like, can't you think of something besides what we got? I mean, granted, he had some pretty comedic, he had a couple of good moments at the beginning of season 7, but I mean, don't get me started on the Great Saiyaman. Most of that was annoying as hell, and
I actually like the Great Saiyaman.
I found
that would get unbearable at times.
I found that hilarious. I love that scene. That bit.
I mean, his interaction with training Videl and trying to gently explain to her this world he comes from and why nothing seems to surprise him. That was interesting, and I thought they could have done a little bit more than that. Honestly, I would have liked to have seen, their relationship kind of develop a little bit more, like, before they got married. Because, I mean, Videl's love for Gohan seemed to almost come out of nowhere, to be honest, in a way. I mean, we don't really get much in the way of development. I would have liked to have seen him maybe talk a little bit more, Maybe have her learn a little bit more about where this world Gohan comes from, because she seems so intrigued by it. And we don't really get much of her exploring it. I think that would have been good development for Gohan, like showing her this world he comes in and why it's nothing to him. Like, he gets more freaked out of high school than he is, flying in the sky.
Interesting.
To see aliens, that means nothing to him. High school freaks him out.
I just loved how he thought he looked so cool as Great Saiyaman, and nobody else did.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
Well,
that was pretty fun. I loved it. But I will say that I felt like Gohan's best moment in the series and the Buu saga was when he comes back from his training with the Supreme Kai, and he confronts Buu and he says, Buu's like, "Are you here to fight me?" And Gohan says, "No, I'm here to kill you." And he really believed that Gohan really had it in him to take Buu down. But since we were in since the Buu saga was a throw everything we've got at him sort of fight, well, Gohan couldn't pull it off. But it was still a cool moment, nevertheless.
All right, Mike. Do you have another question?
Yeah. Favorite saga?
Oh my goodness. I think it's actually the in-between episode, like season 7, which is kind of like the in-between between the Cell saga and the Buu saga. I guess I really don't have like a favorite saga. It's just that in-between season. Just before another big threat comes, just seeing how our heroes interact with the world in a time of peace. Honestly, I would love to see another. I would just love to see another story arc where you see all of them competing in another world martial arts tournament. You know, no gigantic thread. Just have them go into a tournament just for bragging rights. I think that would just be a fun few episodes to watch. I kind of miss those from the days of Dragon Ball. Like, the biggest threat was like a great fighter in the world martial arts tournament. There was no world at stake. I think at some point they should do that. They should go back to that.
Honestly, that's why the Great Saiyaman saga is my favorite, because it's just him in high school, and it's showing you what he's doing. Like, he could literally destroy that entire building with one finger, and yet he's got to try and deal with.
He has to hide it.
He has to deal with social mores, and he wants to fight crime, so he turns into like the golden man, the golden fighter, and then he has to do the Great Saiyaman just to hide who he is.
Wait a minute, a Dragon Ball character in high school? That sounds strangely familiar.
That's the main reason. That's the main reason I saw that movie, and don't make me relive it, please. I saw that movie.
I've never even seen it, and you're forbidden for bringing it up.
I saw it in theaters.
God bless this man.
I felt so dead inside after leaving the theater after that. Oh, it was so bad. It was so bad.
Man, are you crying?
It was so bad. It was just terrible. No, I'm good.
Oh, man. Man, you're pretty good at that, actually.
It's a talent.
Everyone has them.
I just can't do it. I can't take it, man. See.
Well, just for giggles, Mike. Well, really quickly, Mike, what would you say your favorite saga was?
Yeah, I would go with him. I mean, if you had to pick like one of the actual sagas, probably the Cell games.
Saga.
Not the Android saga, I would say, because it's because they start off as all as villains, but you see you see a redemption happening with Android 18, and I really like that bit. So just I guess the Android saga is probably my favorite of, besides the in between there.
Now, speaking of the Android saga, we also never see 18 kind of start thinking, maybe Krillin ain't such a bad guy. I wonder what this guy's all about. You don't really see that, do they?
You get hints of it, but I mean, come on. How many times has Krillin died? He deserves a hot blonde. Come on.
He's died.
Yeah, so is Yamcha, and he winds up with shit.
1, 2.
To be fair, it's Yamcha.
I think Krillin died 3 times, if memory serves.
Hell, even Tien had his little
launch.
Well, not for launch.
Yeah. Well, no, I'm talking about the little white guy.
Chaozu?
Yeah. I always saw them as like a quasi couple.
Maybe telepathically, but I don't know about sexually. Okay, I'm going off track. Colton, did you have another question?
Yeah. Hercule, what did you think of him as a character?
Oh, please. He's Satan, please.
It's
whatever.
Hercule Satan.
You can't think about him without laughing. He is just hilarious.
Yeah, you really can't talk about him without laughing. I mean, nearly everything he does, you just want to. He's someone you love to laugh at, but you also love to hate. You're like, I get when he winds up facing 18. Like, I get why she did what she did. I mean, screwing this guy into getting 25 million zenny out of it. I mean, 5 million for finishing second, 10 million from the tournament, another 10 million from that's for her family. I get it, but there was this part of me that was just hoping. I need to punch. Please, just push. You don't even have to punch him in hard. Just pick him up and drop him out of the ring, please. Just humiliate him. Let the world see what a fraud he is.
I'm with you, man. I hated Hercule so much during the Cell saga. I know that Hercule gets better, but at the same time, I'm like, when did the Earth suddenly become so stupid and forget about all the previous martial arts tournaments where people with fighting abilities and superpowers was a common thing?
Yeah.
I love how even Videl was stronger than Satan at the end, and it's just like, whatever. Just let him have his kicks. We don't need the fame. We don't need the glory. Just give it to him because he seems to like it.
Funny thing is that the World Martial Arts Tournament announcer actually mentions that Piccolo blew up the ring during the last time he was there. So clearly, they shouldn't have forgot. So clearly, Piccolo and everyone, they hadn't been forgotten about completely yet. Apparently, people still bought the whole cheap trick thing from Satan. I'm like,
well, yes, but technically, Goku killed Piccolo. The Piccolo from the Z is technically Piccolo Jr.
I mean, Piccolo Jr. was the one that blew up the ring, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Well, I know what you mean, though. You're right. Yeah. Well, that's another story, then.
Yeah.
All right. Mike, do you have another question?
Nah. Well, you've got to be all the filler episodes have got to annoy you. Come on, you can't admit that having 20 episodes just to build up the spirit bomb is overdoing it. Something fierce.
Some of them, yes, I will admit. Like, the 5-episode building of the spirit. Yeah, those fillers could get annoying, but a lot of the filler episodes I really like. Like some of the filler episodes, like the filler episode with Goku and Otherworld fighting the Otherworld tournament, seeing Pycon, I thought that was cool. Definitely. The Garlic Jr. saga, I thought was cool, seeing him back. Gohan exploring the world when he ran away from Piccolo, I thought that in the beginning, I thought that was nice. And so, I mean, there were some filler that, yes, some of it could get really annoying, but a lot of it was really good and it led to some great world building. Oh, yeah. And on that note, that is something I really didn't like about Dragon Ball Z Kai, that they cut so much down. I was like, excuse me, where is this? This was good world building shit. I know a lot of people like Dragon Ball Z Kai because, I mean, they say it's closer to the original Japanese version, but I'm sorry, I'm not a fan of Kai. I mean, it's fine, but I prefer I prefer the Funimation, the original Funimation dub. Although I do want to know, I want to know if anyone knows this, and feel free to write this down in the comments. Does anyone know if the Ocean dubs of Dragon Ball Z are available on DVD or Blu-ray? Because I'd love to own those for side-by-sides.
I believe they are.
I haven't found them.
Was this was this pre-Christopher Sabat as the Vegeta?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
This was like a pre-Sean Chamel. This is like Brian Drummond voice.
Yeah, Brian Drummond, yeah. Wow.
I don't know how many episodes. I know they did like the first 67. I think they did a few others, but I'd love to have those for side by side.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
I have the Funimation. I mean, all of them are Funimation. This is the one I grew up with. It's the one I have. The one I'm used to. But I mean, I remember when I first started watching Dragon Ball Z, it was the Ocean dubs, and I'm like, I remember these. And there are clips of them available on YouTube. I was like, I'd love to have those just for side by sides. I mean, two different versions of a show that I love, two very good versions of a show I love. I think that'd be a cool side by side to have as a fan.
Yeah, I get it.
If anyone knows that they're available on DVD, write them down in the comments. Where can I find these?
I gotta say though, the filler, it could get annoying from time to time, but they didn't, abuse it. Okay. The filler was there, but it was enough that it didn't feel like they were rushing from story arc to story arc. Compare it to other anime, and this seems pretty tame in comparison. Like I was watching Dragon Ball Z Abridged, where during a humorous Q&A session, Nappa says that he'd rather watch Naruto, and the Vegeta said, "Oh please, if I wanted to watch over 100 episodes of filler, I'd watch Inuyasha."
Fair, that's fair. You can't argue with that.
I think Pokemon was worse with filler. I mean, remember how long it took Ash to get from Fuchsia City to Cinnabar Island? How many episodes was that? 40? 50?
Not only that, but Johto took freaking forever with all the filler, with all the filler arcs that we had in Johto. That season, I thought that arc would never end.
No, I sadly never finished Johto. I got it halfway through to Ash just got the fog badge from Ecruteak City when I could no longer continue it. Long story, but
Johto had an interesting end if the standard BS when it comes to how the tournament arc, how the Pokemon League arc ends, but not as bad as it was in Sinnoh, but that's another story. So,
all right. Anyway. Do you have another question, Colton?
Yeah. All right. I got two more questions, I think. Here's my first one. It's an easy one, which is, what was your favorite? Did you have a favorite fight in this show?
Probably Goku and Frieza. especially after all the people on Namek had been wished off. Just seeing them go full on 100%, nothing holding them back. That was unfriggin' real.
I agree with you, man.
But the whole thing, seeing how ruthless Frieza was, the depth that Goku had to go through to beat him, and of course, his first Super Saiyan transformation, that is goosebump inducing.
Yeah.
Definitely. Granted, I missed it during my initial watching of Dragon Ball Z just because I didn't, I was a child, so I wasn't good at watching TV shows on a regular schedule. So when I saw Goku was like suddenly had blonde hair, I'm thinking, what? Did I miss something here or whatever?
That's why they're on DVD and Blu-ray for you now, my friend. You can buy them and watch them whenever you want.
You missed the really awesome episode where Vegeta dyes his hair. Oh, it was stupendous.
I gotta say, I think one of the things I loved about the final showdown with Frieza, like from the beginning, start to finish, was that it was less that our heroes hadn't prepared to fight Frieza. They had no intention of fighting him, but then Frieza shows up, and suddenly it's less that they're fighting Frieza and more that they're surviving him, And we're just watching them. We're just begging for Goku to wake the freak up before everyone gets murdered beyond recognition. And of course, by the time he shows up, it's almost largely too late. But
you should have just as
probably one of those. Yeah, Vegeta's death was pretty heavy actually.
Yeah, I thought they handled that pretty well.
Speaking of Vegeta, what did you think of him? Or wait, do you have any more questions, Mike?
No, I'm done. I'm good.
Yeah, Vegeta, what did you think of him overall? His character. Did you buy how he changed, how he gradually changed from a world conqueror to a reluctant warrior to ultimately being an actual Z fighter?
Okay, Vegeta's not a Z fighter. I'm sorry. No one can ever convince me Vegeta's Z fighter, or for that matter, even a good guy. At best, he's an anti-hero.
No. He's definitely not a good guy. He wears a shirt that says "Bad Man." Dude, that's if you've never seen it, there's a clip you can find it online of him in GT. He's driving his daughter Bra, and these two guys start making eyes at him. So he reaches over, rips off their steering wheel, and just takes off.
Okay, so as I was saying, no, Vegeta is not a good guy, but I did buy his transformation from like world conqueror to, I'm not going to invite this guy to a birthday party anytime soon. I'm not going to invite this guy out for drinks anytime soon, but he will do the right thing when it's needed. But I will never accept like a Z fighter, even a good guy for that matter. And a recent line sums that up perfectly. In Dragon Ball Super, when resurrected Frieza offers Vegeta the chance to join him again and all he has to do is kill Goku. He's like, no, much as I hate this guy, it's my rivalry with him that keeps me going. I can't afford to kill him. Like, he still hates Goku, but now he's like, I need this guy in order to make me stronger. I need him to keep pushing me. That's the only reason I'm keeping him alive. I didn't need him. If I voted for that, I'd kill him, but no, I need him.
To be fair, I think Bulma would probably talk his ear off if he did that, and I think if there's one person that Vegeta is afraid of, it's Bulma.
Oh, you obviously haven't seen the last episode of Dragon Ball Super, did you?
No, I haven't seen any of Super.
Okay, well, I will fill you in. It is. I will. You know what? I will wrap it up then with this. I have enjoyed Dragon Ball Super very much. It still retains the great comedy of the show. It looks stunning. And
they finally had a female Super Saiyan.
Not yet. I haven't gotten that far.
Oh, okay.
I haven't gotten that far. But there was this wonderful where Vegeta more or less admits that why he finds Bulma attractive, why he agreed to marry her, and it made sense in a way coming from him. But I thought that was cool to see, though. I would highly recommend checking out Dragon Ball Super, Mike.
Wait, they actually got married for real?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they did. They're married.
Vegeta knows what marriage is?
Yeah,
even Bulma taught him.
Well, I think, needs to say, I don't think it was a white wedding, because I'm pretty sure that they had trunks before they were married, or at least conceived trunks before they were married. Anyway.
Yeah.
But I've always liked Bulma. She was my favorite character in Dragon Ball. And given that I like Vegeta, he's probably my favorite character from Dragon Ball Z. I like that they got together. They have good chemistry, I think.
Yeah, it's funny how the only thing that can seem to terrify a Saiyan is their wife or mate or whatever. I mean, yeah, Goku and Chi-Chi. And seriously, I just want to know, how the hell did Goku and Chi-Chi just do it when Goku is like the most naive person in the ways of romance ever, the ways of love and everything?
I'm guessing the honeymoon had a lot to do with picture books.
Well, before I forget, I do have one final question,
Go right
Paul.
ahead.
What?
Go right ahead.
All right. Okay, so when the Super Saiyan transformation made its debut, it was a groundbreaking moment in the series, you know. But then they kept doing. Then they sort of changed Super Saiyan from like a legendary prophecy to it being every Saiyan's birthright, and then they kept introducing different versions of Super Saiyans. Did you feel like that devalued the concept of the Super Saiyan, or do you think it was still like a pretty good concept overall?
I mean, I don't think if they had stopped at just Super Saiyan, I think that would have ended the show. I mean, you know, I mean, part of the whole appeal of Dragon Ball Z is like constantly seeing your heroes get stronger. I think it would have been completely against Goku and Vegeta's character if they're like, well, I've reached this legendary form, no point in me going any further. I mean, that's not who they are. They're always aspiring to go bigger and bigger and bigger. Like, even if Vegeta had still managed to beat 18, I think he still would have tried, like, you know, I've reached this form, but I wonder if I can go higher. Because that's just who they are. You know, that's just, it's Vegeta's nature as a warrior. It's Goku. They're, as Saiyans, they're always pushing themselves to get stronger. I think, like, Trunks and Goten being able to naturally do it, in a sense that didn't really make much sense. Like, you know, Goku, Vegeta, Gohan, they had to struggle really hard in order to reach this. But these two can do it naturally. That doesn't really add up. But, I mean, them keep going higher and higher. Now, of course, you go with Dragon Ball Super. You got Super Saiyan God and Super Saiyan God, Super Saiyan. It can be a little much now, but at the same time, it's in their character. That's who they are. That's who these characters are. If you expect it from them. Like, oh, they've reached another form? No surprise there. I mean, that's just who they are. So that's kind of the way I look at it. It's just who they are. It's in their nature to keep pushing themselves to go further and further.
Okay, I guess that makes sense. I guess part of the reason it bugged me also is because that at first it's a legendary transformation that was required in order to be a galactic tyrant, but then when the android saga starts, 2 androids that were built by an ordinary man were somehow able to hold off people that are supposed to be the most strongest beings in the universe. It just seemed iffy to me in a way.
I suppose if you want to look at it, because the thing is, and I watched Dragon Ball. I watched this saga, like, because I have all 5 seasons of Dragon Ball. We never saw Dr. Shiro in Dragon Ball, and I don't think we ever saw him in any of the movies. Granted, it's been a long time since I've seen any of the Dragon Ball Z movies, but
yeah, from what I read, Dr. Shiro wasn't there. He was like retconned in later, so to speak.
Yeah, so I mean, but that being said, Dr. Shiro, when they introduced him, he was a devout Red Ribbon Army scientist. He loved the Red Ribbon Army, and when he sees his, for lack of a better word, his home being destroyed by this little kid, he's like, he didn't just want revenge. He didn't just want to kill Goku. He wanted to humiliate him. So I think that's why he makes these androids so powerful. He doesn't just want to kill Goku. He wants to humiliate him. So yeah, I think you could look at it that way. He made these guys so overwhelmingly strong so that they could humiliate him before killing them.
And that's the thing, though. I'm wondering how he was able to make them so powerful. I know Dragon Ball Z is a just go with it show from time to time, but still.
Well, he does reveal that he had some kind of like spy drone attached to following Goku for a very long time. So he learned exactly how Goku did his thing. He saw him get stronger and stronger. How he kept pushing himself. He learned the secrets of Goku's Kai energy, his spirit energy. He learned the secret of how that worked. I think that's how he was able to do it. And I mean, plus it's a cartoon show. I mean, there's no such thing as logic in these shows.
Yeah, you're right. I forgot about the extent of what the spy robots did. Yeah, you got me there.
I do have one question. Not about Dragon Ball Z, but Dragon Ball Super. So Dragon Ball Super takes place before Dragon Ball GT?
GT doesn't count.
GT no longer exists.
Oh,
GT
so
has been taken out of
they
canon.
completely retcons GT. Okay, because
It completely retcons GT. Dragon Ball Super takes place immediately, like 6 months after Goku defeats Kid Buu. I think it's like 6 months after Goku defeats Kid Buu.
Okay, yeah, because I was just looking. I was just looking through the Funimation site and looking at all the episodes. I saw an episode that's like Pan is born. I was like, what? I thought Pan was the main character in GT. So
yeah, GT has been taken out of canonicity, and
yeah, that one wasn't even made by Toriyama at all, wasn't it?
No, it was not. But Super was.
The sad thing is, the reason that Vegeta always kind of gets the short end of the stick is because Akira Toriyama hated him. In fact, he killed him off just to piss off all the people that wrote him letters saying, "Please don't kill off Vegeta." It's like, dead.
And well, they had the Dragon Balls though, so they didn't have to worry.
And then he brought him back. But that's why Vegeta's never gotten like a good outcome in the show, because Akira Toriyama doesn't like him.
Oh yeah, the Dragon Balls. I can't forget about the Dragon Balls.
I mean, I was really hoping Vegeta would kill Frieza in that resurrection app. I really wanted Vegeta to get his revenge. Like, that's just appropriate.
Well, I mean, his last words to Goku before, like, after Frieza kills him on Namek is, don't let Frieza do this to anyone else.
No, I'm talking about in Dragon Ball Super.
No, I know, but at least showing just the depths of how Vegeta hated him is because, Vegeta, deep down, he does have a good heart. And he
cares about something.
Yeah, and it was revealed like when he was dying, right before he died. It's like I didn't like what Frieza made me do. That's why I love Vegeta so much.
All right, go ahead, Colton.
But Paul, I just remembered one more question. It's the most important of all, and it's about the Dragon Balls. So the Dragon Balls basically became our hero's glorified get out of death free card. Do you feel like that cheapened the drama of the show sometimes, where it's like people would take death seriously, and we're all thinking, hello, you have the Dragon Balls people, and these people that are died, they haven't died before, so you shouldn't be all that upset. You can wish them back later.
Well, that is one thing I kind of don't like about GT being taken out of canon, is because in GT you do show the consequences of them using the Dragon Ball so much.
The Black Dragon Balls.
No, not the Black Star Dragon, the regular Dragon Balls. And you see
the Shadow Dragon.
Use the Dragon Balls too much, you get this magic buildup, and if it doesn't release in time, you get these evil dragons. So, I mean, that is the one thing I kind of didn't like about GT being taken out of canon. Like, well, I mean, now there's no consequence for them using the Dragon Ball so much, unless they reintroduce that topic back into canon, like the way Disney's doing with a lot of Star Wars stuff. I suppose they could always readapt that into canon, but I did kind of like that. Oh my gosh, so there actually are consequences to them using the Dragon Ball so much. But I mean, it sometimes, yeah, unless they reintroduce that back into canon, I think having them use it so much does kind of defeat the awe-inspiring Dragon Ball notion. I hope
that is my final question.
Okay.
Thank you.
Did I answer it at least?
Yeah, you answered. Like you said that because the consequences are no longer there, that kind of does cheapen the conflict a tad in a way. But you never know. They could always reintroduce the Shadow Dragons, and that would be pretty badass if they did. Because the Shadow Dragons, while they were a cool concept, they were not. They had issues in GT itself, like a lot of things. So it'd be interesting to see them try to do it again, but more properly.
If they do. I mean, there's no guarantee, but I would like them to. I would like that. I won't lie. I'd like that. All right, guys. So with that said, that is going to wrap up another interrogation episode. You know what? I think this is like our fourth in a row that we've done. I think this is quickly becoming one of our favorite subjects to do. I don't know about you guys, but I'm having a blast doing this.
We had video game interrogation, then we had
movie interrogation, another game interrogation, and now it's show interrogation.
Okay.
So,
I'm enjoying it too. It's pretty good. It's a pretty interesting topic,
Yeah.
More, all right. And it's also more organized than regular, I guess you could say.
Yeah, it has been a lot more organized so far. Okay, guys. So yeah, that's gonna wrap it up. I want to thank all of you for being here. Colton, it was a pleasure having you here.
I'm happy to be here. And remember, happy to be here. And remember, everyone, with great power, there must also come great response. You know the rest.
With great power comes shut the fuck up. I've heard it a million times already. Mike, my friend, it was a pleasure having you here. And feel free to link Geek Salad to the Nerds United One Facebook group.
Yeah, I'd be happy to. And we've got movie sign.
You what?
We've got movie sign. That's what they say when they have the alerts to going to the movie theater and Mystery Science Theater. So we got movie sign.
Okay.
All right, guys. So we will see you on the next exciting episode of Nerds Unite as one.
Whatever it's about.
Whenever it will be. Have a great day, everyone. Bye-bye.